aborted women, and he found that 47% had physical complications after abortion and 94% reported psychological. And amongst those, 6% of women who had undergone a safe legal abortion, 6% of them required a total hysterectomy, 8% required had their fallopian tubes become blocked, 9% developed infections, 15% had postoperative hemorrhaging, and 22% miscarried a later wanted child. And so these are some of the other ramifications of abortion that I think we need to take a look into to make sure that when a woman goes in to make this decision, she is not just making a decision on the life of that child that she is currently carrying, but she is also making a decision on her future health to even be able to have a future child. And these are abortions that are being done in legal abortion clinics. I do agree that we need these statistics should not happen. And when we just look at the fact of, and when you look at that, and we say that are there the hard cases in which a woman has those difficult times to choose, and I have encountered those women as well. More specifically, 2 years ago when I was speaking on the issue, a young girl came up to me and said that her mother found out she was pregnant with her brother, and then she found out 2 months later that she was also diagnosed with breast cancer. And so the mother said, and the doctors obviously recommended that she abort so they could commence with aggressive cancer treatments. And of course, this was quite a few years ago. Unfortunately now, even with some cases of breast cancer, they can treat a woman while being pregnant for that and not require an abortion anymore. So, the advances that we're making in our medical technology are wonderful. But the woman made a very difficult decision, and she said, I cannot guarantee that if I abort this child that I will survive this cancer. She said, I can guarantee that my child will survive this pregnancy. And she made the very difficult choice to bring her child into the world. And that poor little girl, she was a college student, that poor little girl, but when this girl came up to me with tears coming down her eyes, she was a little girl all over again. And she said, but that is the definition of a true mother when she lays down her life for that of a child. Would I say that that's not a difficult decision? No, it is an absolutely difficult decision, and I don't want to come across as calloused about that, and I don't want to come across to say that in every case child trumps mother, because we do have to take a look at the issue of ectopic pregnancy in which a child implants in the wall of the fallopian tube, and if nothing is done, then you lose both mother and child. But let me also make clear that Roe versus Wade did nothing to change the laws of a woman's life taking precedence over top of her unborn child's precedence, that always, in our federal history of our country, mother trumped child in health care. So in this case, unfortunately, even though the intent is not to kill, the intent is to save life. So it's a different perspective. A woman cannot go to an abortion clinic and have this ectopic pregnancy fixed. She must go to the hospital and have surgery. So in fact, I know of a woman that had that happen just a couple of years ago. And she did lose her child in that process, but in the end, her life was saved. And in that instance, I believe she made the best decision for herself. But when we take a look at some of the other issues out there of aborting children for other means, you can take a look at any medical journal, you can even call it a medical association, and take a look at that. There has never been an abortion performed to date that has saved a woman's life. Has it given them extra options in their health care? Yes, but the abortion itself has never saved a woman's life.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I can't remember how.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Well, I was just thinking what a good example this was as far as giving you all a picture of the type of discussions that we used to have in advisory board meetings is the ramifications, like bringing up the ectopic pregnancy and all these different things. And rather than the abortion side, what I do know more about is, especially with like cesareans, how the scarring after cesareans is more likely to lead to more miscarriages and issues like that. That it's important for I think people to know. It amazes me in this day and age, a lot of people don't even take childbirth classes anymore. And it's rarely taught in school, and people don't understand the implications of the decisions and just think. I see more people taking time doing research on what car they're going to buy than on their care provider or the decisions they're going to make in regards to their children. And it has lifetime ramifications. So Anyhow, I just wanted to say, this is the type of stuff that happens in advisory board meetings. There can be more discussion and thoughtfulness and coming back a couple months later and talking about some more.
That was your question, right?
I forget.
That was Frida's question to begin with, I'm pretty sure. Okay.
Oh, no, that was mine, directed toward rate.
Oh, that's
Oh, yeah,
right,
that was
this is
Frida's
right,
question,
yeah.
so now it's Frida's question. All right, here's a question this is for a pro-choice perspective.
Maybe I'll do it.
Do you believe women should be allowed to have abortions if they repeatedly have unprotected sex and sort of use it as a form of birth control? Why or why not?
Okay.
I know that's a tough.
All right, this goes into the, put my separation of church and state hat on. I believe in the Constitution of the state to protect the welfare of the people. And I believe under the current law that should be respected, that that's there, with the mindfulness of trying to keep the public's best interest in it. And under current law, that is the case. So I don't think that there should be any changes to that without it coming from the Board of Medicine and the Board of Health professionals. If there's different research that should lead to something, then I think that should be considered.
Read the question.
It was, do you believe women should be allowed to have abortions if they repeatedly have unprotected sex and use it as a form of birth control? Why or why not?
And I'm wearing the pro-choice.
Right.
Okay.
You're saying, I guess right to the question is not what the law is, what you think about that.
I know, and it's so hard because I agree with you.
I do want to express on her behalf one other time. She did come to help bring a reconciliation between the pro-choice representative and myself to help us understand common ground. So I understand that she's been put outside of her comfort zone.
I know. I can imagine trying to ask.
It's not my personal
Well,
belief.
I would say
It's not what I personally believe.
You know what they would say?
I might run for office again. This is being videotaped.
Presenting your personal belief along with your, along with what you think should happen.
What do you have to say? That's a good question. What do you think?
I wouldn't want to be on record on that one either, if I were you.
Yeah.
Well, saying your personal belief and what you think should be done with law,
Yeah, don't
it's
say your
okay.
personal-
It's just, we know that that's, you are someone who considers yourself both, and you want to see things be brought together from both sides. But, knowing your perspective
Okay.
from your personal belief and your perspective of the law would be nice to know too, if you don't mention it.
All right. Well, something I do believe, as far as coming to peace with that can be reality, and I think it happens less. I think it's a rarity, that situation. And I don't know the statistics off the top of my head. I do believe that when you provide legal, affordable access to reproductive health care, including abortion, that there is counseling as far as birth control and trying to talk to them about future pregnancies. And I think that's important because for the reasons that you were saying earlier, there's a physical consequence when it comes to miscarriage and abortion that can prevent future, if you change your mind and you fall in love and you want to have a family, that choice might not be as accessible to you as it would have been if you'd taken better care of your body. So I do believe that it is within the Commonwealth, the state's perspective to try and educate women about the need to take care of ourselves so that when we want to bear children, that the odds are that we'll be able to do so. And having a place where women can come and get that treatment is really important. One of the things I thought, when I did talk to David Nova earlier today, I thought was interesting about parental notification. He was saying until Virginia passed the parental notification law, the surrounding states around us already had them, and teenagers from other states would come to our Planned Parenthood to have abortions, and during the process of them having their abortions, they would take tests that would reveal STDs and cancers and different things. And the teenagers would lie on their forms because they'd be afraid, and this test would come back where the teenager had a serious health condition, and there was a disconnect from reaching out to save that life, to get medical treatment to that person. And so that's where I see, for me, being pro-life is how can we best save lives? How can we best care for each other's health? And that's what I focus on. And to me, that's where I have to suspend sometimes what my religious personal belief is, and to realize that scientifically and reality, the teenagers do things like that. You were talking about sometimes their full brains aren't engaged yet, and they need our support and guidance so they can have a healthier existence. I don't think I did that question.
No, I think that was a tough question. I think it was a good answer.
Okay.
I liked your perspective.
From my perspective, being on the pro-life side of things, I would say one abortion is just as bad as someone who's had multiple abortions, regardless of their irresponsibility when it comes to their sexual lifestyle. I do take a different approach. I've only met one person in my entire years of being involved in this issue that has said that they had used abortion for birth control methods and had 8 at that point. So I agree with Frida that that is a rare case. I do believe that abortions are being performed for the reasons that we do not justify the killing of another human being when we talk about the question of what is the unborn and understanding that they are human beings. I don't agree with the decisions that are being made out there every day that justify the killing of that human being. But at the same time, I don't believe that just simply education is the key to answer. I mean, we have laws out there that prohibit spousal abuse, and so if we said, well, that's what they're doing in the privacy of their own home, why don't we get to the root of the cause and get these men in some anger management classes or do some education, educate these men on what they're doing. We're going about it all the wrong way. We do have to limit the decisions of some people because they can be harmful to someone else. And at the same time, I do believe that we should have parental notification laws because who better to look out for the best interest of their child than a parent. Now, are there children in abusive situations in their home life? Absolutely. I'm not denying the fact that those circumstances exist. But at the same time, more often than not, the parent has the best interest of their child in mind. Some parents do choose abortion for their child, but many of them have also the opportunity to choose life. I know of only one instance when I was back in high school where a young girl at a neighboring high school had an abortion without her parents knowing. It is amazing because at my school you could not get an aspirin without parental consent, but my guidance counselor could take a girl to an abortion clinic and let her have an abortion. And at this neighboring high school, this girl suffered a botched abortion, and she went home and came up with a very high fever several days later, and had to be rushed to the emergency room. And her parents were left to deal with medical bills in excess of $100,000, but yet they were deprived of and they had to sign consent forms for all the surgeries it took to fix this child's reproductive system, which they could not fix. She ended up having a total hysterectomy, so she would never again be able to have children. But yet they were left with that decision for those surgeries, and they were also left with the financial responsibility of that as well. But yet they were denied that initial decision. So I believe that we do need to encourage our teenagers to talk to their parents. Also, I teach high school, and students come to me, and I encourage dialogue between their parents because more often than not, the parent has the best interest for that child in mind.
All right, we're good.
Do you mind if I say something?
Oh, no.
It just reminded me of when I was doing my research earlier, the story that I came across. It was about a woman, I don't know her first name, her last name was Bell. She became pregnant at age 17, but under state law in Indiana, minors required parental consent to obtain an abortion. Said to be unwilling to tell her parents about her pregnancy for fear of disappointing them or go to court to receive a judicial bypass, They'll saw an illegal abortion. Within a week of